Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Riyad Lakha, Marketing Executive, Strategy, and it gives me immense pleasure in welcoming you all to today's webinar on leveraging VDI as a digital business enabler on behalf of Dell Technologies, Intel, and Strategic. The virtual desktop infrastructure market is expected to record a valuation of 55 billion US dollar by 2028, according to the most recent study by Global Market Insights Incorporated. Constant innovation represents the only chance for Indian organizations to meet user expectations and business demands in the backdrop of the recent global disruption. As Indian industry realigns its operating and workforce models to address emerging work-related situations, innovation becomes a critical mandate for business leaders. As organizations rush to embrace various tenets of the future of work, an important aspect is the alignment of needs of business with IT services and support. Identify individual needs while ensuring excellent user experience for each and optimized device or employee alignment and spend. Empowering a modern digital workforce to work from anywhere safely and productively has increasingly taken on epic proportions in terms of the considerations required for computing, accessibility, and collaboration. Through the webinar today, we aim to discuss security, manageability, and cost efficiency that VDI promises to offer. This platform will also bring forth the necessary mandates for business and IT leaders today. Ladies and gentlemen, as I bring in the first session, I would request you all to address your questions to our speakers using the chat option on your screens. Also, please fill out the feedback forms towards the end of the webinar proceedings. Please do mention any suggestions or recommendations that you have for us. It will help us enhance the content, structure, and delivery of our conferences. And to kick off today's session, I would like to invite Kanchi Shah, General Manager for Content Strategy at Strategics, deliver the welcome note.
Thank you very much, Ria. As introduced, ladies and gentlemen, I am Kanchi Shah. I head content strategy for Strategy, and it's a pleasure to welcome you to this webinar on VDI as a digital business enabler. Top IT goals for Indian enterprises are to innovate and deliver new products and services, and invest in research and development, and of course, expand globally. We would like to speak about the current versus future state of digital transformation for Indian organizations, and the numbers that you see on your screen are from a recent report. We're seeing that enterprises are re-examining the readiness of their technology architectures to overcome challenges of legacy infrastructure, to address lack of scalability and the data deluge. And of course, organizations are reinventing workflows by developing a digital-first model to gain competitive advantage and to be future ready. We've seen that IT teams have had a challenging time in the past few years. The top priorities for enterprises over the next 18 to 24 months, and these are the percentages in which they've ranked these priorities that they would like to address. We see that 58% of them believe that siloed digital transformation initiatives need to be addressed, and 56% say that effective tactical plans need to be put in place to get the results of an effective digital transformation journey. 51% say that silos of innovation are a challenge, and 21%, as you see on the screens, say that the lack of or limited capabilities to address digital transformation is something that they would like to address. We've also seen that an interconnected hybrid world is the future. The drivers are on the screen, where hybrid is keyword. And while we see that IT teams have faced certain challenges in implementing and maintaining secure remote access at scale while serving the rapidly changing needs of the in office and remote and hybrid workforces. The more hybrid work models now than ever, remote access to company applications and data has become essential to each employee and is extremely important to an organization's overall success. With hybrid being the mantra, we see that the foundations of an interconnected hybrid world will be laid by VDI, virtual desktop infrastructure. And companies who have not yet adopted VDI to address these needs may very likely be considering it. Interest in it has increased, and this can be justified by the latest projections, where there is a forecast that the number of users of VDI will grow over 150% between 2020 and 2023. We're also seeing, according to a study by Global Market Insights, that the VDI market is expected to record a valuation of $55 billion US. Another report by DataQuest says that India is the fourth largest VDI market and in the world. And reports also predict that 70% of connected workers in task-based roles will use intelligent, embedded, adaptive digital workplaces to engage with clients, colleagues, and drive productivity. IT trends that actually bring VDI to the front are on your screen. And speaking about how this will impact as we continue to see these trends bring VDI to the forefront. Digital transformation and cloud initiatives are something that form the backbone. And the outlook for VDI as a whole and important considerations for widespread adoption. We're seeing that there is a growing acceptance of VDI, and this by IT professionals and teams embracing VDI for its scalability. We've learned that transitions to remote and hybrid work environments VDI empowers organizations with all the tools and capabilities that need to provide hybrid work for employees. Also, there is employee user experience that is taking center stage. The prioritization of workflows flexibility and the expansion of hybrid work models has led to more work being conducted remotely more than ever. Therefore, the delivery of a seamless and consistent user experience is paramount to an organization's success. How this can be accomplished by enterprises addressing transition to cloud-based desktop virtualization, while proactively solving end-user experience problems with various tools will be vital, as IT staffing and skill shortage is something that the industry is facing, but these challenges are also being addressed. Unified user and device management is something that VDI offers, and due to the proliferation of the sheer amount of endpoints organizations have to manage, many IT teams seek out ways to bring more order among the chaos. As more organizations seek simple yet powerful endpoint management solutions, we see that VDI comes to the forefront and will continue to flourish. All in all, what I would like to say is that this is just the beginning. The emerging digital infrastructure ecosystem, increasingly built on a cloud foundation, focuses on ensuring ever faster delivery of innovative infrastructure hardware, software, resource abstraction, and process technologies to support the development and the continual refinement of resilient digital services and digital experiences. With that, I do hope that you enjoy the rest of the webinar, and I'd like to thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Kanchi Shah, for setting the ball rolling. Up next is a discussion focused on leveraging VDI as a digital business enabler. Please join me in welcoming Sumit Malhotra, Chief Information Officer and Head Cloud Platform and Site Reliability, Times Internet. Vinit Sinha, Director, Cybersecurity, Mastercard. Rishi Agarwal, Senior Director, IT, Concentrix, who are in conversation moderated by Arjun Vishwanathan, Chief Knowledge Officer, Strategic. Over to you, Mr. Vishwanathan.
Hello and welcome. I'm Arjun Vishwanathan, and today I have a very eminent panel with me to talk about how constant innovation that represents the only chance for Indian organizations to meet user expectations and business demands in the backdrop of the recent global disruption means that Indian industry will have to realign its operating and workforce models to address emerging work-related situations, and therefore how innovation becomes a critical mandate for business leaders. Our conversation today is increasingly about how organizations are looking to empower an emergent modern digital workforce to work from anywhere safely and productively, such as that has taken epic proportions in terms of the considerations required for computing, accessibility, and collaboration. Enter the whole domain of virtual desktop infrastructure. And to talk to me about all of this, uh, I have some very eminent folks and friends from industry. Rishi Agarwal from Concentrix, Sumit Malhotra from Times Internet, and Vineet Sinha from MasterCard. Gentlemen, welcome and delighted to have you with us.
Thank you so much, Arjun. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to interact with you again.
Thank you, sir. Sumit, if I could come to you, the whole concept of VDI is not anything that is new, but perhaps has taken on a larger meaning, a more expansive meaning, given the fact that organizations today are increasingly wanting to empower a workforce that is, well, hybridly working, sometimes in offices, most times from anywhere else. In that sense, how do you see VDI playing a role in organizations being able to truly empower a new digital workforce?
See, the concept of VDI, when it started about close to a decade ago,
A
was
decade ago.
primarily related to cost efficiency and security. So, cost efficiency because let's say an education institute finds it easier to deploy thin clients and use these VDIs to virtualize desktop and save their cost. And security because a bank gets more control, especially when you're deploying and giving access to this application to media. Now, with the new work environment in the post and pandemic era, things have dramatically changed and continue to evolve. Now, the new concept of cloud VDI came in because people wanted to scale up and scale down fast. This again led to further cost efficiency, and people said, okay, now why do I need to invest in a hardware which typically I would only use, let's say, 4 hour a day or 6 hour a day average. So people started saying, okay, while there is a cost efficiency, is that model even workable? Because when you're working from remote, you not just need secure access to the enterprise application, but you also need tools to collaborate. You please need access to video solutions. I think that's what has changed in last few years, in which the VDI solutions have become mature enough to support and provide a good user experience, especially on video calls and enabling those collaboration. Especially even people are working from remote offices, be it with low network speed or whatever.
So that's actually true. Vinny, because that's what I want to bring to you. It's actually true, isn't it, that increasingly as organizations look towards talent, wherever the talent is based, and not necessarily in a geographical location, which used to be called the office, uh, increasingly, roles and responsibilities are also being attached to the persona, which is how the infrastructure is being designed or being deployed. In that kind of a scenario, how important do you think VDI becomes?
See, I think Sumit touched upon a very important point that VDI has been existing in the industry for since last 10 years, for
True.
over a decade. And I have practically been very as closely associated with one of my organization in my previous role, which is with EXL services. And VDI was primarily been used for all good reasons in the organization. Why? Because we had multiple clients. The clients were very sensitive about sharing their set of desktop procedures, the documents like a PII or a PFI data, which they don't want to physically send in to somebody else's computer.
True.
And that is where we were actually connecting remotely, sitting from our office location to the client environment directly, and then the user ID and everything was created directly by the client itself. Now you realize the importance that it has. right? It gives you the flexibility to working, and it gives you the probability of actually having a kind of environment which is remotely controlled by the organization itself. The controls is there, the people is ours. They can define the set of roles and responsibility of each of the individual based on the roles and based on the kind of work that they are doing. And that gives the organization, the client organization, as well as the respective organization which is providing the set of services, the all kind of flexibility to get the right set of talent with the right set of roles and responsibility defined, and the right set of data access to that particular system. Now you see, you have all the flexibility coming through this particular piece. You are able to identify the right people, you are able to identify the right set of roles and responsibility as to what that information that the individual, and you are even in control of the information set that you have as an organ. So this gives you all kind of flex. And then security, you the controls are yours. You are devising the set of control on the environment. You know what you are controlling from a user access point of view, from a data access point of view. You do not need to now transfer the data from an X organization to a Y organization where there are likely chances of a breach. You are re- completely evading the regulations, which is from a GDPR or a HIPAA standpoint, right?
True.
Because you are not having, you're not in the position of that particular data, but you are in the position of the environment, which is in different environment. And then you have all set of restrictions where you are not allowed to copy paste the stuff on your local machine. So
Indeed.
that gives you all kind of flexibility from an environment standpoint, from a people management standpoint, from a data management standpoint, and from an overall governance standpoint. So I think VDI today brings a lot of importance. And post pandemic, uh, we are seeing a more wider adoption because we all are looking at remote working, and we know that this is not going to go off very soon. The remote working environment, the hybrid
Yeah,
working
it's going to
environment
stay.
is going to stay, and this will bring more of a, so rather than creating more of a complexity for the organization, it has actually eased some of the roles and responsibilities of the CISO, the CTOs, and the CIOs. So it brings a lot of flexibility, more of governance management from data, from a data transfer standpoint, from a data at rest standpoint, and a lot of the flexibility from a roles and responsibility standpoint.
Fantastic points, because like that's exactly what I wanted to bring to you, Rishi. Both Sumit and Vineet spoke about the whole concept of the user flexibility and aspects related to that. See, one of the trends that is increasingly taken on over the last 2 years is that while there are enterprise expectations, there are also employee expectations in terms of experience. In that kind of a scenario, how do you see VDI playing a role in enhancing the user experience while working to be able to and consistently deliver productivity, collaboration, and of course, innovation as and where it's required?
Yeah. So Arjun, Sumit and Vinny talked about the key component of VDI, like security, the compliance. VDI, especially, it also does the ease of deployment. Whenever there is a new employee onboarding, once when it is your full-scale desktop, then lot of configuration is required. Lot of system implementation is required for that. However, when it comes to VDI, especially during pandemic, when the user or employee was not able to travel to office, deploying thin client with VDI in the data center or in the cloud became a new norm, or it gave a lot of faster deployability. It gave a lot of employee set also. When we talk about how employee is able to gain, or how it is adding to employee experience, because deployment is seamless when it comes to VDI. For a large workforce like organization of our scale, wherein we are onboarding, say, 100, 200 employees every day. Also, it gives seamless experience to the employees. When it is VDI, everything is centrally controlled. You provide seamless experience whether employee is working from office or working from home. So
Indeed.
that is very, very important. So the employee environment should not change whether employee is working, from anywhere, like whether he or she is working remotely or they are coming to office and working there. Second, as we know, security is a paramount need, and when employees are working from home, we have to provide a very, very secure environment so that we are able to meet all the regulatory requirement, we are able to meet all the data privacy, data security. Also, uh, when employee is working from home, he doesn't need to necessarily come to the office network or office environment. And
True.
and VDI in cloud evolved a lot. Earlier, VDI was being deployed on-prem. Now we have so many innovation happening, so many solutions wherein VDI is residing in the cloud, and
Absolutely.
all the applications are also in the cloud. So
Absolutely.
it gives you better experience from the accessibility perspective, from the faster access to the data.
No, that's
And
actually fantastic, Rishi. But with your permission, I'm just going to take precisely your point to Sumit, Vineet, and then come back to you. Sumit, therefore, do you feel that with VDI and IT leaders such as yours, uh, job has or set of responsibilities significantly been eased, not just from the point of view of management, governance, and flexibility, but also from the point of view of cost optimization and fiscal prudence?
Uh, in somewhat, yes.
It's a loaded question. I realize that, and I do apologize for that. But
So,
it just struck me as being poignant.
see, I think the value which VDI is providing is very difficult to measure in terms of just an operational efficiency. It's way bigger. Like, for example, um, people want to work from home. Now, first, people want to, so there is a big concept in most companies in which you can bring your own laptop. Now, most security sensitive companies who are dealing with confidential PII data do not allow that practice in which you can bring your own laptop. Now, this is an additional investment which everybody has to do despite deploying VDIs and all these environments. But with VDI in picture, you can enable people to work from any laptop while ensuring that they do not have any access of data on their personal laptop. I think that's a big changer because that creates operational big efficiency. Then, as I said earlier, typically when you build an environment and you give them laptops, desktop, the laptops are hardly used, let's say 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, right? And then if I average it out, it typically will come out like a 6 hour or 4 hour period on an average in a company. So this means 75% of the time our compute power is lying wasted. Even on the
Good.
75% of the time, everybody is not using the compute power all the time. Like
Not at
everybody's
all.
not doing everything all the time, right? So if you pool those resources, your cost efficiency is bound to improve. But again, it's not. I think the cost efficiency used to be the lever of VDI, but I think um, the the new way of working or um, the user experience, the better user experience which we need to provide to enable our users to work from home, I think is right now the primary driver in addition to security.
Well, absolutely. That's a fantastic set of points, Sumit. Thank you for that. Because, Vineet, I want to ask you, therefore, with all of these benefits and perhaps larger future oriented fiscal benefits, has the economic conversation with the CIO or the CFO, rather, beg your pardon, around deploying VDI become easier, therefore? And the caveat there also being, how would you increasingly advise an emerging generation of new IT leaders on how to approach the VDI economic or the fiscal conversation with the CFO?
See, you have touched upon a very, very important point, Arjun. I think cost has become so. When this pandemic happened, okay, everybody was confused as to what is the next course of action and how do we need to
So true.
approach, right?
So
Right.
true.
I think I'll thank to the pandemic because it has helped in terms of changing the mindset of lot of the senior leaderships across the organization.
In that manner, it's been a very perverse catalyst.
Yeah. And that has helped in terms of actually understanding the need of some of these technologies in the given ecosystem today, uh, which is helping the organization is not only adopting to these technologies but also driving it to a next level, right? uh, I remember, and I was talking about my previous set of experience, where we had this VDI environment, and how we used to generally use it is probably we used to rotate people into shifts. Okay, where one set
Yeah,
of
I
team is
remember.
coming around it for 8 hours, then the second team is remote. I think obviously, as it was pointed out by Sumit, that that device flexibility is there. Today, anybody can log in from any point device. Given you do not need a specific device to really log in into, but again depends upon the sensitivity of the data that your organization is even handling. So I think you have to take that cognizant call in terms of whether you want to actually have a device flexibility enabled for the people, or but again the VDI has actually eased. It has helped you in terms of not only uh, having the right set of people in your organization and then managing some of the pieces on the ground, but also outsource some of the processes to
Indeed.
some X or Y organization, because of the liberty that you have this kind of an environment in place where you know that your data is secured. You have the right set of technology where your data breach may not happen. There is only very limited set of data access to these individuals, and that gives you the all kind of flexibility to really speak in front of the CFOs and the CEOs and give them the return of investment that the technology is bringing to you as a table, um, and how it is helping in terms of reducing your entire overall budget. Okay,
Indeed.
so that's, but does that ends to that CFO conversation with the CIOs and the CTOs? The answer would not really be, because there are a lot of other things which brings as a challenge, because cloud VDI, when you're talking again, is somebody else's computer which is lying on the cloud. You have to look at some of the security controls, and you have to invest onto some of those pieces as well at the same time. Uh,
Fantastic. I couldn't agree more because Vinith, I want to take this to Rishi. Rishi, therefore, now that I think over the last 15, 17 minutes, it's fairly been established that VDI is a big, big enabler to achieve a lot more than we had perhaps previously imagined we could. But in that sense, there's also a worry is what is the right approach to get VDI correct at the first time? And what are the pitfalls to avoid?
Yeah, good question, Arjun. So the best approach for VDI is, we need to identify, if I, talk from, say, technology perspective or from the how it provides ease of deployment. So where are application hosted, whether these are these are owned, managed by client. If I talk about industry like ours, wherein we work for multiple clients and each client has got different operating environment, different set of security requirement, different compliance requirement. So, so we need to identify, where our core applications sitting,
Indeed.
whether these are on, inside our data center, whether these are on cloud, or whether these are on our client data center, and where are our end users sitting. So we need to work on the overall plan in terms of, how the user is going to access these applications, and then we need to work upon what kind of technology we want to deploy. So, like we know, VDI is being provided. So it started with, say, Citrix or VMware or Microsoft, and then a lot of cloud VDI solutions are, very very popular nowadays, like Scale and others. And depending upon what is our, overall end-to-end requirement, so that defines, how we should deploy our VDI solution, as well as the pitfall is that, the how is the accessibility. So we know, here, like, when we talk about, the endpoint, what we need, And we talked about, say, providing, bring your own device. So it gives, so there are a lot of end users, they are happy using their own device or when they are working from home. But Sumit rightly said, if we provide our own, end user computing device, so that is to be used only say for 7, 8, 9 hours, and that device is living, is idle for remaining say 16 hours. So with VDI, we are able to give that flexibility. User can use their own device, and all the security, all the accessibility is lying in the VDI. That is how we can bring
That's interesting.
yeah, we can bring ease in the deployment of VDI. And
And that's an actually interesting point because Sumit, one more question that I had that popped up is really today, gone are the days when users worked on one singular application alone. There's multiple toggling happening. There's data spread across different applications and so on and so forth. In that kind of a scenario, uh, do you feel that VDI continues to be able to offer the same kind of experience as if all of it were on my endpoint in a locally based manner?
I think it makes it even better.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah.
If you kindly.
Yeah, the reason it makes it better is that if you are accessing different kind of applications, assuming you have similar network controls on your desktop and VDI environment, uh, the VDI environment being on the cloud gives you access to way more resources than what you have restricted on your laptop, right?
Local
You will
machine.
end up, if you run a process on your laptop, you end up waiting for it to
Oh,
complete,
yes.
right? So, but that's not something which you need to get stuck in VDI, right? Most of these VDI environments are immutable desktops, right? So the minute you shut off the desktop or log off, the desktop goes away. The data
Absolutely.
is saved, but the desktop goes away. So next time you want to log in and say, okay, I want a bigger laptop, bigger desktop to process something, I can just get it like this, right? Now imagine you doing this in a work from home scenario, and you are, let's say, working on a smaller, let's say i5 laptop, and you want now an i7 laptop. Now the time it takes an IT to order an upgrade for a laptop
Absolutely.
and send it to you and set it up. This is
Absolutely.
now something which can be done on a click of a button.
No,
That's
absolutely.
now another use case which we see very commonly is that, let's say you have a problem with your laptop now, and it's a company provided laptop. You're working in a remote town. Now somebody has to deliver a new laptop to you and take this laptop back. Now that's like a logistical nightmare. Even if you ship a new laptop, it's going to take 3 days of
Absolutely.
loss of work, right? So that's what the impact would be. But VDI, it's like, okay, just jump on your personal computer and then you're done, right?
You're
And
done.
and it
Absolutely.
gives you portability across your devices. If you are not comfortable in working on, let's say, if your personal laptop is dead, you can move to your tab, right? So it's
It's
so
that
easy.
easy.
Yeah. So I think that's portability, that flexibility. I think that's what the bigger value addition which VDI environment is providing nowadays. Uh, in addition to the cost efficiency, security, and compliance and operational efficiency, which has always been part of VDI.
No, I couldn't agree
Value.
more. But I do have a view on the clock, gentlemen. I've got about 7 minutes on the clock. So, Vineet, if I could come to you, therefore, now that you've heard the largest part of this conversation and this dialogue, when you look at VDI today and the way that it's evolving, especially with the whole concept of the cloud having been embedded within it, what do you see VDI enabling an increasingly young digital workforce to be able to achieve in the coming years for not just for themselves, but also for organizations? My question fundamentally being, what do you see VDI enabling in incremental measure for organizations that are traversing a complex but a fascinating journey in value acceleration?
See, VDI has is actually bringing a lot of value additions, and as we were talking about. But I think though there are value addition in terms of the cost, in terms of the flexibility, in terms of the device management, in terms of some of the compliance regulations which are there, it helps you in terms of protecting your data leakage and all of those pieces. Uh, but I think one fundamental piece that we need to be very, very careful about is that, and two things in fact, rather the regulations. Okay.
Absolutely.
And the second is each of these systems, though you are deploying, may have a set of vulnerability, a supplier risk, right? and we know that how some of these pieces have got impacted.
Oh, yes.
Now, coming to your point, where you were talking about the transformation of this, and then how VDI can lead it to the next generation to a different level altogether. Obviously, VDI have a lot of scope, but I think still we have not used it to the potential that we should have.
Interesting.
Now, I think over a period of time, since the adoption is becoming even more huge today, because a lot of organizations are actually looking at adopting it, but you have to be also sensitive of the fact that how your data management and how your new generation take it and understand some of the concepts around this is something that they need to understand and evolve. Okay. uh, though it is going to help a lot in terms of transforming the way we used to work 2 years back versus what we are doing right now. And but I think it brings the set of challenges also, and that challenges I've already talked about more from the infrastructure standpoint, as well as from a data governance standpoint, and including the supplier complexity. But yes, the today generation is going to take it in that way, because they love this kind of an structure, they love this kind of an environment, they love the kind of working environment that it has helped them in terms of enabling their lifestyle, and they are very happy in terms of really working in such kind of setup.
Oh, lovely. No, actually, I couldn't agree with you more because Rishi, in that sense, again, now that you have the benefit of the larger, expansive conversation, do you feel that VTI is perhaps one of the beginning steps towards the modernization of the IT and technology embedding into the fabric of the organization?
Yeah, Arjun. So it is like a shift from where we were earlier.
Indeed.
So we were, we had the habit of working on, say, desktop, especially in our generation, full-blown desktop with everything on the desktop itself. Like it has got operating system, it has got all the applications. We were saving all our critical data on the desktop itself.
And you've lost it so many times.
Exactly. So hard disk crashes, some virus, get infected with the virus, your everything is gone. So and when you are on a corporate network, then you know uh, so like we hardly used to say save our data on the file server or on the
Indeed.
network. Then with the evolution of the VDI, it gives you, as Vineet and Sumit rightly pointed out, a lot of security, compliance, your data manageability, ease of deployment, as well as, I would like to touch upon, we don't need very high-end configuration for the endpoint here.
Perhaps.
As well as the life of your endpoint increases, say, if we use full desktop and everything is, on the local machine, then you need to refresh your system in 3-4 years. But when you are working in VDI environment, you can use your endpoint like thin client or any device for at least 6 to 7 years. So
Now
that,
you're able to sweat the asset more.
yes, that way you are able to optimize your cost. Also, we talked about the flexibility. So the user can use his or her own personal system. Uh, Organizations also, do away with the risk. When someone is working from home, when they at right, when they leave, I have seen cases they don't return the machine back to the office. So also, it has got multifold benefit, when we talk about VDI deployment, not just from, all the soft benefit, but from the commercial benefits also to the organization.
I couldn't agree more with what each of you has articulated, gentlemen, but I have a view on the clock. That's pretty much what we have time for on this particular segment because this is a conversation really that can continue for hours together. But I couldn't agree more with what each of you said because I think the way I see it, VDI holds many promises, not least of them, like you all of you articulated, being security, manageability, flexibility, and cost efficiency, especially because these are necessary mandates for business and IT leaders today. But gentlemen, thank you, Rishi, Sumit, Vineet, as always. lovely being amongst friends, knowledgeable friends, and learning a point or two from each of you. Thank you so very much for making it with us today and helping us with your perspectives. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Arjun, for having us here.
Thank you, sir. It's always a pleasure from our end. Thank you, Sumit, and thank you, Rishi. Ladies and gentlemen, that was I, Arjun Vishwanathan, in conversation with Rishi Agarwal, Sumit Malhotra, and Vineet Sinha on the benefits, opportunities, and challenges of VDI. Stay tuned, and we'll be back in just a second with the next segment.
Thank you very much, Sumit Malhotra, Vinit Sinha, Rishi Agarwal, and Arjun Vishwanathan for sharing those gems of insight and shining the light on how VDI is the panacea for organizations that are striving for resurgence, revival, and acceleration via the distributed and displaced workforce. Up next is the technical masterclass. Let's welcome Ahmed Khan, Senior System Engineer, EUC, VMware Software India, to take us through this.
Good morning, everyone. This is Ahmed Khan, working for VMware as a UC specialist in VMware Horizon platform. Today, we will be covering up briefly about VMware Anywhere Workspace. I would be spending next 40 to 45 minutes to walking you through all the beautiful features of VMware Anywhere Workspace and how VMware Horizon can help you for all your end user computing requirement. Thank you. So let's talk about shifting from remote work to anywhere organization. So when we talk about uh, way back, in 2020 or 2019, and if I'll have to think through, all of us have gone through a major crisis, and every one of us have gone through the trauma of COVID. So while COVID have given us all those, one area where all the organization have shifted to is all about anywhere workspace or anywhere organization. People are no more tied up to that same physical machine. People are not tied up with the same physical location. We have also learned, or the world have learned, how to work from anywhere or how to work from any location remotely. So I would say, every organization, 99% of the organization have shifted to work from home overnight or within a span of 30 to 45 days, where just to make sure their operations are up and running and they are able to continue with their business. So while that is something which we have learned and it is going to keep on happening post COVID as well, there are many organizations which still figuring it out how best they can go ahead and provide this solution to the end user. Now let's talk about, when we talk about shift from remote to anywhere organization, VMware have done a internal research. VMware have done a commission research in which what we found, 61% of employees across every organization, they are basically they are uh, they are basically looking for remote work to be remote work to be enabled. Why? Because it is a mandatory prerequisites. At the same time, 90% of of the employer, they are making sure to provide all the appropriate access and all the digital tools so that the users can do their remote work properly. And at the same time, 73% of the buyers says there has to be an integrated workforce solution, which is a very, very critical priority for their end users to complete their productivity properly, or to make their end user productive. So does all this number means? So today, while everybody is trying to work in a hybrid environment, or someone who wants to work from home, or someone who wants to work from a very remote location, there is a peak demand where every organization is thinking of how can we provide the end user the right tools, and as well as all our production application or the corporate application securely. How can we deliver all those applications securely? That's something which we are able to see is coming as a mandatory requirement from each and of every organization. And I would call that as a challenge as well. When all the employees or majority of the employees says it is our employer, or it is the organization who will have to provide with all this tool, at that time the company or the organization will have to make sure the solution which they are providing for the end user computing, or the solution which they are providing for the remote work, has to do, has to have a tick mark in all this area. It has to be secured, it has to be compliant. We need to make sure there is no loophole. We need to make sure the end user productivity is getting measured. So all these things come into the place. So now let's jump into the next slide. We would be talking about an anywhere organization. So when I say anywhere organization, there are organization where every one of the employees are demanding, saying we need to have a flexible work style. We need to make sure we are enabling the multimodal work style, which is going to be tailored for the employees based on their role, based on their needs. So sometimes you will find there is a task user, sometimes you will find there is a knowledge worker, or sometimes you will find there is a heavy graphic intensive user, or your developers. So all of them comes with a different set of requirements. Someone might have a requirement of a configuration of a computer or configuration of a laptop ABC, or someone, your moderate user would have a configuration of XYZ, and your heavy graphic user would have a configuration requirement or demand of a different thing. So based on all this different requirement, how can IT make sure they are enabling a anywhere workspace organization? They are making sure while someone is demanding a work from home, someone is asking or requesting for a remote work or a hybrid work, how can we make sure we have all these options available? We have all these options enabled. While we are enabling all these options, the employer, all the IT team will also have to make sure the entire architecture, or I would say, I would say the technology which we are deploying, or the solution which we are deploying, should be end-to-end secured, should be end-to-end compliant. That's something which we will be talking about, and how how anywhere workspace from VMware is going to help you to do or to deliver this. So if I have to talk about pre-pandemic IT environment, the way it was working was, like we still had a large majority of our customer which is still with with on-premise. All their applications, all their mailing solution, their application environment, all their backend operations, everything happens over a on-prem data center. Okay, so while they are all in on-prem data center, what is happening is they are not ready for the future, or they are not ready for a hybrid environment or a hybrid workload. So people are typically logs in from different branch over the WAN, and they goes ahead and they connect to the data center. And just to protect your data center, you would have a employer used to have your firewall, which is deployed in your perimeter layer, and then you have your DMZ layer, and then they'd ask users to land into their data center to do their work. So while to log into your data center to do all this, to perform all this operation, typically in a pre-pandemic IT environment, everybody provides a VDI. I'm sorry, it was not VDI, it was a VPN. Everybody provides a VPN. So they ask user to log into with a VPN tool that enable a VPN, land into your data center environment and work. So while this was all accepted during pre-pandemic, but post-pandemic, what we have also seen, the majority of the attacks across the globe, the majority of the ransomware attack, the majority of the attack over every organization or any organization happened during this pandemic time, starting from 2020 all the way till now. It is going on. So what we will have to what organization will have to go back and check is the solution which they have deployed, through which user can land into this environment and they can work. Is it secured? Because VPN are not secured. VPN is again a single point of failure for us. And at the same time, when you land someone to your data center environment, it is absolutely open traffic for them. Once they land into the VPN, they can go ahead and browse anything. They can go ahead and they can access to any of your server which is the same VLAN. Or if someone is bit techy, someone is who have a good amount of knowledge in IT, they can go ahead and also start digging into multiple other environment within the data center. So this pre-pandemic environment or this on-prem environment with the traditional approach is not something which is designed for a fully distributed workforce. That's something which we are able to see. So the obvious question which comes to everybody mind is, what should be the right way? How can we go ahead and distribute this workforce into a distributed enterprise? So the answer is this in the slide. So while someone is logging in, now what we are able to see, you know, because of this pandemic, there is a huge shift we are able to see where enterprises are currently operating, the way they are operating, the way they are accessing their apps, the way they are providing access to their devices, the way the user distributed. Users are, majority of them are working from home. the users are logging in, for the content and collaboration, they are using O365 tools. Someone is using O365, someone is using Zendesk, someone using Slack. So there are many SaaS-based tools which they all use to do their content and collaboration work. And at the same time, what we are able to see majority of the organizations are migrating their workload from an on-premise environment to a SaaS-based environment. So they are migrating, their on-premise application, their on-premise server, their on-premise mailing solution from here to a SaaS-based environment, to making sure at any point of time in the future, if they will hit with any pandemics, any such pandemic, then the workforce has to be distributed, and we should allow the user, we should be able to equip ourselves to make the users work from anywhere. We should be equip ourselves to make the users to work in a hybrid work style. So that's the whole goal behind it, and that's how all the organizations currently shifting. So one quick example, if I'll have to think about when we talk about when someone is using a legacy VPN. So when you talk about a legacy VPN, at that time, while we are enabling VPN and we are enabling a users to land into a data center environment, at the same time, the VPN impacts the app performance, because in the VPN is something which was way back developed only to making sure someone can land into a specific office environment, and they can perform any administrative task. At the same time, when someone wants to logging in and do their end user computing, or when they want to do any kind of task which is end user related, those traffics, those application behavior, those patterns are absolutely different than a VPN, than a VPN user logging in and doing some activities inside the server. So that's how can we make sure the we have a reliable network performance in the remote location. If someone is logging in, and they are logging in and providing all the access through an on-premise app, then absolutely, if there is now the moment everything is getting shifted, what we are able to see, we have an issue which is coming as hairpinning issue. Because what hairpinning issue is, because now everything is pointed to the data center, all the traffics and everything routes back and everything goes to your data center. So this also leaves your VPN a very critical bottleneck. At any point of time, it can fail, and once it will fail, or any vulnerability which you will find in this VPN can also cause a lot, can also cause I would say downtime to your enterprise, as well as it will make your data, it will leave your organization vulnerable. So to make all this work, what we will have to do is we'll have to go ahead and deploy anywhere workspace. We will have to go ahead and deploy the distributed workforce. At the same time, there are many organizations where the user comes in and asks them saying, how can we go ahead and enable the BYE? Is there a way can we go ahead and making sure while someone is logging in, how productive the user was for the whole day, what time they have in, what time they have logged out? There are many such requirements which we have heard from many of our customer, while making sure they're all working from home or they're all working from a hybrid environment. So while I'm discussing about all these challenges, while I'm discussing about all this problem, the solution to all of this is anywhere workspace, which I will be walking you through in the future slide. Now let's talk about the top level challenges which we have all discussed in the past slides, the 7 slides. So the first is the suboptimal experience. How can we make sure when someone is logging in from home, or someone is logging in from any different location, or someone is logging in from remote? How can we make sure we have a right end user experience which we are providing to the end user? While the end user is working on the application, we need to make sure the applications are performing at the best performance mode, and the user is able to complete all their day-to-day productive tasks at the right time. Second is the fragmented security. How can we make sure when we are logging in, we are not making any of our component vulnerable? While how are we make sure we are removing the hair pinning impact on our on-prem data center? So that's all something which is one more big challenge or a top level challenge which we have been hearing from all our customer. At the same time, operational complexity. Well, while we are discussing about so many things, saying we would be going ahead and giving you VPN, we would be allowing you to land into this machine, or we will be allowing you to land into the data center environment, there are many operational complexity also which comes along with this. So how can we make sure we are resolving all this? And while all these are top level challenges, the impact to the employee engagement and productivity is basically huge, because the moment we will not meet up all this above requirement properly, at the end, what we will be able to see, the end users are not able to perform their productive activity, or the productivity properly. That's the problem which we will be able to see at the end of the day. So let's go ahead and let's go ahead and let's go ahead and solve this with the help of VMware Anywhere Workspace solution. So now we are introducing you to VMware Anywhere Workspace. So we talked about a lot of challenges for the past 8 slides. We talked about different issues, how user would be logging in, how they would work, from where they would be logging in, how are we going to make sure users can bring in their own device, how can we make sure they can log in from different location. So all these challenges, the solution to this is VMware Anywhere Workspace. So what VMware Anywhere Workspace is, basically the Anywhere Workspace solution is designed to make sure we are meeting all the distributed workforce requirement across all the organization. So what we do in the left, what I'm going to talk is manage multimodal employee experience. So what we do, we are going to put the employee first with the device choice to making sure from our IT, there would not be any kind of restriction saying which device a user can bring into the office or which device the user can use to do their day-to-day productivity. How can we make sure our policies are flexible and it is seamless, consistent, and it is supporting the multimodal experience, employee experience. So that's something which we provide with VMware Anywhere Workspace. The second is secure the distributed edge. What does it mean? While we are providing all this benefit or all the flexibility to the users, at the same time it is easy to move the zero trust with situational intelligence, and we can enable the connected control point by delivering security as a distributed service. So that's something which we provide in the securing your distributed edge. And the last but not the least is the automate the workspace. What we do here is, here we make sure we manage all the outcome, not only the task with intelligence compliance, we also enable the workforce, we also enable the performance management, and again we can go ahead and enable the no code or the low code workspace. So that all something which can be enabled today when we provide anywhere workspace environment. While I would be talking in the future slide, we have something called intelligent workspace intelligence. So with workspace intelligence, what we do, we integrate that with your end user computing solution, which will give us all the intelligence data when someone is logging in, what all application they have opened up, when someone logging in, how their complete day productivity was, how much time they have spent in the machine, what were all the issues they had. So there are many things which we basically pull with this intelligence. So that's something which VMware Anywhere Workspace provides or offers as a solution to all this business challenges. Now let's go ahead and discuss about what all component will have to deploy to make this Anywhere Workspace technology works. So first, in the extreme left, we talk about managing multimodal employee workspace, correct, or managing multimodal employee experience. Then the next is the securing the distributed edge, which we talked about. Third is the automate the workspace. So we have multiple component which works together, and by a combining of all those components, we provide this Anywhere Workspace. So first in the right, we have VMware Carbon Block, which is a cloud native and endpoint protection solution. Second is our VMware Workspace One, which is a unified endpoint management, as well as a solution which can help you with a virtual app and a virtual desktop delivery. Third is the VMware SASE, which provides a zero trust security, and it provides the network performance management as well. So with the combination of these three, your VMware Carbon Block, your Workspace One, and your VMware SASE, we provide you the Anywhere Workspace environment or the Anywhere Workspace solution to you. So while we provide or we takes care of all these three area, what it gives you, it is going to be an integrated solution across your IT, your networking, as well as all your security requirement. Now let's talk about Workspace One. While we discussed about VMware Workspace One is one of the pillar in our Anywhere Workspace, again within the Workspace One you have three different layers or three different solutions. One is the VMware Horizon. That's where I'm going to spend majority of my time today. VMware Horizon is basically our signature product for the desktop and application virtualization. Anybody who wants to log into an environment where your desktop is virtualized, you want to have a better control on your desktop, you want to have an end-to-end secured and compliant machine which can be provided for your end user, then the solution to this is your VMware Horizon. What we do here is we virtualize your end user machine. We create an environment out of which you can go ahead and provide virtual desktop to all your end user based on different personas. So that's something we will be talking about today heavily after this slide. So now let's talk about the customer journey to hybrid cloud and SaaS. So while I talked about VMware Horizon, what we also heard when people are talking about VDI, a lot of our customer today asking us, hey, Ahmad, is there a way? Can we go ahead and thinking of migrating half of my workload from on-premise to a different cloud, or on-premise to one of my different data center? So there are many options which VMware Horizon provides out of the box. So while we provide the VDI solution, this VDI solution can be deployed in all this environment. So from the left, if I'll have to go through, you can deploy the solution on an on-prem environment. When you have, if you have a data center, on-prem data center, then what we can do, we can deploy the solution with the right set of hardware. We can deploy the solution on your on-prem data center, and we can also enable our DCDR environment with any of your on-prem data center. So this is something which can be deployed pure play if you only have on-prem data center and you don't have any plan or roadmap to migrate to the cloud. The second is cloud management for on-prem. What we do here is we also provide a control plane or a cloud control plane. The benefit of this is you can take out the on-premise, you can take out the cost for your on-premise deployment with modern cloud service. What we do, we provide a control plane in the cloud, which can be integrated directly to your on-premise environment, and you can manage your on-premise environment directly from the cloud. You can log into our control plane. From the control plane, what you would be able to see, you have a list of administrative tasks which you can perform. Typically in a VDI environment, what we do, we create a virtual machine, we create the golden image, we use app volumes, which is again a product of our VMware, VMware app volume, through which we take care of application lifecycle management, or we go ahead and do any kind of customization, or we do any kind of monitoring. All this can be done, or all this can be delivered directly from our on-premise, from our cloud-based management control plane for the on-premise environment. The third is cloud optimized use case and workload. So while it increases your agility and it lowers your upfront cost for your HA or a DR or a bursting capability. So let me do a double click here, because we are talking a lot of things in this third area or in this third point. So take an example. Today you have 100 user, and in this 100 user you have deployed all the solution on your on-prem environment, and you are getting a request from your senior management saying we should now go ahead and think of a DR based solution. When you want to think of a DR based solution, that can be deployed on on-prem infrastructure, either could be in your DR, or that something can be expanded, or that can be expanded to any of the cloud. What i recommend based on the customer requirement, if you have any such requirement for a DR is something which is basically acts as a life insurance. You go ahead and deploy it, you wait for it to, when your DC goes down, then only you are going to use your DR. So at that case, instead of going ahead and blocking 7, 8, 9, or 10 odd server for your DR, what you can do, you can go ahead and use this optimal solution where you can go ahead and deploy your DR over the cloud. Whenever you have a requirement, you can go ahead and switch on all those backend VDI and start using this DR. If a customer comes back and tells us, typically for all the banking customer, where they have seasonal workload, typically they would be able to see majority of the users are coming back to work during end of the month or end of the quarter or during end of the year. So in all those time, whenever you have a peak workload which is coming in and you have never planned for those workload, this is the right solution for you. What you can do for all those burst capability, if you are managing your environment from the cloud-based control plane, then you can go ahead and add any of the available cloud for your burst workload. In that case, whenever you have a peak workload, take an example, during December, there is it's an insurance company, just an example, and they have during December, January, February, March, they typically see 30% of the user, whatever the daily day-to-day concurrency, they see all the 100% concurrency. Above on that, another 30% user comes in and they logs into the workload during this time. So if this is your requirement, then you can go ahead and start planning, or you can plan the DR for the specific period of time, or you can plan your burst capability for a specific period of time over the cloud. Not the DR, I'm sorry for that. It was for the burst capability. So that's something you can go ahead and plan on a specific cloud. Okay. And at the same time, what you do is you are basically transitioning only a specific desktop and a work or application workload to any of the available cloud, or you can go ahead and enable a hybrid solution as well, where half of the solution would be on your on-prem data center, where we would deploy a VDI based solution with the help of Horizon, and other half of the solution can be deployed in any of the available cloud. The fourth one, last but the last least, is the pure cloud. What we do in pure cloud is we also offers a solution, a VDI solution, which can be deployed directly over the cloud. You would not require any kind of footprint on your on-prem data center. Either you can choose GCP, you can choose Azure, you can choose OCVS, or you can go ahead and choose VMC on AWS. Any of this cloud you can choose, and we can go ahead and seamlessly deploy our VDI solution over there. And you would not have to, you would never have to deploy anything on your on-prem data center. You can directly log into our control pane. You can create the golden image. You can create the virtual machines. You can create all the policies, and you can start asking user to logging into the to the cloud-based VDI, and they can perform their day-to-day activities or their day-to-day tasks. So you heard me talking about Horizon Control Pane. So I talked about Horizon Control Pane, where we have, we have a control pane which can be accessed directly over the cloud, and we provide this as a service. And I also talked about you can save cost by not deploying all these components in your on-prem data center. So what happens? Take an example: you have on-prem data center, and you have also deployed all your management component in a different cluster, and that cluster goes down, or that management component crashes. So you will have to go ahead and start building all those components once again to making sure you are getting a control back to your environment. Now think of it at the same situation or at the same scenario. If you have, if you would have deployed or integrated the Horizon control pane, which is in the cloud, at any point of time, you have also one more option where from the cloud control pane, you can go ahead and manage your same on-prem environment. So this is again, which provides you high availability out of the box. And at the same time, if you have anything goes wrong in your on-prem environment, you would not have to worry. Why? Because your control pane is sitting on the cloud and you can manage everything from here. So let's discuss about, while I talked about Horizon Control Pane, and I also talked about there are so many great features which you can, which you have in Horizon Control Pane, and it is going to make your life easy to manage and to deploy all your VDI based solution. So what does it do? So the first is the universal brokering. What is universal brokering? So it removes your GSLB requirement and complexity. So anybody who goes back to our old VDI days, someone who have deployed VDI, if you have multi-site VDI and you want to enable active, then immediate requirement which comes in is, do you have a GSLB in place? Do you have all the right component in the load balancing? We'll have to do a lot of configuration, making sure the load balancer is able to see both the site properly. You have a requirement of a lot of network requirement, making sure you have the subnet visibility. You will have to make sure the ports are opened up. You'll have to make sure the heartbeat is coming in. There are so many requirements which which you will be bombarded with the moment you ask about multi-site VDI requirement. So out of the box benefit in our Horizon control pane is the universal brokering. What we do here, if you want to have two different sites and you enable a single URL through which people can log in, and then at the back end they can get routed based on their location, then this helps you to deploy this. Universal brokering helps you to remove all the complexity of GSLP. Similarly, it also helps you to reduce the network traffic and eliminates the hairpinning. Hairpinning effect I talked about in my previous slide. While everybody goes back to the on-prem data center, one of the major area where we were able to see our customer shared it with us is the hairpinning effect. All the moment you go back and start deploying everything on the on-prem, or you route all the traffic to the on-prem data center, all your network got choked, or everything got it will have a heavy dependency on your on-prem network. So that is where the moment you go to Horizon control pane and you enable this universal brokering, you will not have any dependency, or you will not have any kind of issues with this hairpinning. Why? Because you are no more dependent on your on-prem data center. At the same time, it also enhances the end user experience with a single site URL. So what does it mean? Take an example, I'm a user, or I have an organization where I have one side in Mumbai, other side in Delhi, and third side in Chennai. What I'm typically doing today, if I will have to allow users to log into Mumbai site, I will have to give one URL for the Mumbai user, one URL to the Chennai user, and one URL to the Delhi user. At the same time, when you deploy universal brokering, it is all going to be a single URL for them. So for the end user, it enhances the end user experience, and at the same time, it makes your life also simple. One URL, ask the user to log in with this URL, and in the backend, you do all this configuration, route the user to the right site. Second is the image management. Again, whenever someone works in VDI, someone deploys VDI, or someone plans to manage the VDI, they know the pain behind managing the golden image. While you have the flexibility, or while you have the feature of deploying 100 of VDI from one image or one golden image, at the same time you'll also have to make sure, or as an administrator we will have to make sure this golden image is healthy. The moment you do anything, any configuration mistake, or if you do any problematic configuration in the golden image, then everything goes on a toss. Your end user will start raising issues. You will have a lot of problem. You will have a lot of tickets. So all this comes back to how easily I can manage my image, or I can manage my golden image. So that's where again VMware Horizon Control Plane helps you. It distributes the image across automatically to different pod to reduce the time and the cost. So if you have different site today, one site in Mumbai, one site in Delhi, one site in Chennai. So what you typically do, you manage so many different golden image for each of the site. And take an example, a classic example. There is a requirement coming in over the night. You will have to deploy some patches, or you will have to deploy some application fix. So how difficult it would be to manage all the different golden image, do the patching and making sure it is up and running for you. So what VMware Horizon Control Plane helps you here is, it helps you to distribute the image automatically across all different pods, and also it helps you to reduce your time. And the biggest part I would say is the complexity. It is no more complex like the way we were dealing with on-prem golden image management. Next is the tracking. So that again, whoever worked on VDI, or the moment you talk about VDI, there are many changes which you do on your golden image, because you know you will have a lot of requirement which you will come across from your backend team, and based on that you will have to keep on doing the changes on your golden image. So you could be you could be do one change today, again in the next week there could be one more change, third week there would be one more change. So you will have to make sure you are making sure all the version controls are maintained properly, you have a tracking of it, and also you are keeping all those snapshot in place. So the moment you think of Horizon Control Plane, that's where again it helps you tracking, making sure the version control image with a replication across all the pods. It is absolutely easy, and it is absolutely simplified in this control pane. It is going to be much more easy. You would not have to worry, how can I go ahead and copy this golden image to a different side, making sure I have a backup. All this is going to be available out of the box. The moment you do any changes on the image, at that time you will have a tracking, you will have a version control. And if you want, you can also go ahead with a replication enabled to different pod. Take an example with a Horizon Control. You have one pod in Mumbai, one pod in USA. Okay, let's say in Illinois. So at that time, if you want to go ahead and manage both the golden image, it is going to be much more easy, because there would be no manual intervention. The moment you're doing any changes on your site A, you have also the option where you can go ahead and enable to the site B. Third is the application management, which I was talking about while we are deploying an application today. The huge part within VDI is, how are we making sure we are managing those applications properly? How are we making sure the application lifecycle management is getting monitored? How are we make sure if there are any changes which is coming into those application, you are deploying those securely, you're tracking it, and you're also doing an auditing. So all this happens in our Horizon Control Plane in a very simpler manner as compared to the traditional. So you have automated application packaging built in, no additional infrastructure. And to be very specific, it is for Azure only. You can go ahead and deploy that, and we can go ahead and take the benefit of that. You can go ahead, install all those applications. You can go ahead and manage all those applications seamlessly. It also supports the portable, it's also support the portability of packages across on-prem and your cloud. Take an example, you have half of the infrastructure deployed on-prem, other half is deployed over the cloud, and you want to go ahead and manage all those applications back and forth from your on-prem to over the cloud. That's also something which application management will help you with. Fourth is the monitoring, which is a key area, I would say, for every VDI deployment and for every VDI operation. How are we going to make sure how many users logged in? How are we going to make sure everything is working properly for you? How are we going to make sure, if you have multi-pod or you have multiple site, you have different cloud in which you have deployed? How are we going to make sure your cloud pods are ready, your cloud pods are healthy, and your users are able to work properly? Okay, that's where again monitoring helps you. With a by default monitoring, it consolidates the help desk functionality as well across different pods, so that if anybody is raising any issues or anybody is raising any kind of tickets, it is going to be much more easy for you to to do the monitoring, or it is going to be much more easy for you to go back and figure it out what exactly went wrong, how can I go ahead and resolve this. Last but not the least is the lifecycle management. It is basically, how are we going to make sure it uploads the management of Horizon infrastructure, and it also automates the installation and any updates which is needed for your environment. And both of this is again supported only with Azure as of now. In the future roadmap, we have, where we are going to enable it for all the other platforms as well. So this is all something which you would be getting by default or out of the box the moment we will integrate the Horizon control plane. Or I would say this is the power of Horizon control plane, which gives you all the benefit, all the flexibility. How can you manage your on-prem VDI environment or the environment which you might have deployed or which you are planning to deploy in your any of the cloud? How can you manage all those seamlessly from a cloud control plane? Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about our next slide, which is remote experience. So what VMware Horizon can offer you today? So while we talked about the distributed workforce, while we talked about the anywhere workspace, when you allow the end user to work from home, in an organization today, there are many different type of user. You have different personas. So when I say different persona, you have task user, you have moderate user, you have graphic user. This slide is all about the graphic user, someone who is doing a lot of activity on any of the graphic intensive application. It could be your developer team, it could be your engineering team, it could be your your design team. Whenever we think of all this graphic intensive application, there was a time when someone was thinking only the graphic intensive application would work on a physical desktop or a physical laptop. It cannot be worked in a virtualized environment. So VMware have worked intensively with NVIDIA, and we have been working together on a lot of new developments as well. So today we are providing, like I believe we are the only one who's providing 5K and 8K resolution, which can be enabled within a VDI. We also provide the vGPU support, and within the vGPU, what you can do once you land into the VDI, you can also go ahead and enable the universal printing, which can enable you to location-based printing, and also it will help you to directly do the printing from your graphic intensive applications as well. You can go ahead and you can go ahead and integrate Linux-based VDI also, which can be enabled. And at the same time, we have API first approach to facilitate any kind of automation. If your graphics team, engineering team, or your development team is looking for those. At the same time, we have also real-time audio video integration for the soft phone. Someone who's looking for a soft phone integration where majority of the callers can take calls and they can go. At the same time, they will have to work on some backend application. That's all can be done seamlessly. So what we do, so today when we are providing the VDI based solution, we have our proprietary protocol called Blast Extreme. So we provide this great VDI end user experience with the help of Blast Extreme, where we provide you the graphic intensive application accessibility. We provide you the integrated printing, we provide you the peripheral support, and at the same time, you can go ahead and do all time of real time audio video activities. One of the area which I would quickly talk about is your Teams, Zooms, and all WebEx integration. Nowadays, because of this COVID, I believe 90% of the 90% of the employer, they would find majority of the users spending time in any of this collaborative tool. So what VMware Horizon provide out of the box, we have an optimization pack which is available for all these tools. The moment you'll enable that optimization pack, what will happen, it will help you to optimize the traffic to making sure you are getting a great end user experience while your users are basically taking up all the calls, or they are doing a video call, or they are working on this content and collaboration tools. So we have a lot to cover. So let me go ahead and quickly jump into the next slide. The next slide is VMware Horizon user connectivity. You heard me talking a lot about while we are providing the VMware Horizon, which is a end-to-end secured, end-to-end compliant. How are we making sure it is end-to-end compliant? How are we making sure it is end-to-end secured? And let's talk about high availability. I also talked about high availability because when you are in a physical desktop environment, if the physical desktop goes down or the laptop goes down, you don't have any backup. Someone will have to ship a new laptop, or someone will have to come spend time with you and then do the troubleshooting to make it up and running. The moment you are in a VDI based environment, the benefit here is you have everything high, like your high availability is enabled out of the box. You can go ahead and just enable it because our solution supports it. So take an example from the extreme left. If someone would be logging in, okay, I will just quickly play this. Someone would be logging in from the extreme left from a home device. How it works is the home device would initiate a connection which will come via internet, and it will come and hit to your DMZ firewall. Post the DMZ firewall, we will have a load balancer, which is AVI load balancer. Our load balancer will split the traffic between the back and unified access gateway. Unified access gateway is again a hard-coded appliance from VMware, which can, which is secured, and it will make sure it will validate the user, the user, making sure which user it is, and against of that, the traffic would be forwarded back to your internal firewall. Once it will cross your internal firewall, it is going to go and hit to the internal load balancer, which will again a load balancer from AVI, and the load balancer will split the traffic, or it will route the traffic to any of the available connection server. Either it is our connection server A or connection server B. Connection server is basically the heart of our entire VDI solution. It will make sure, if Ahmed is logging in, what resource should be allocated to Ahmed. If Ahmed is allocated with a virtual desktop or a virtual app, what should be the policies, which needs to get applied. So all this verification, all those authentication, all those authorization been done by our connection server. Along with connection server, we have multiple other component which works together to provide you a full-fledged VDI solution. We have a component called DM, Dynamic Environment Management Solution. So what it does, it takes care of the entire end user profile customization. If I'm logging into desktop A, I logs off. With the help of instant clone, my desktop A is going to get wiped out, and we will have a desktop B in the backend, which would be available for me in the next login. While I logged into a different VDI, how can we make sure the end user will not have to do any of the configuration again, or the end user will not have to go through all those pains of configuring all those applications? So that's all something which we takes care with the help of DEM. And our connection server here works with the backend Active Directory SQL to making sure it has all the event database captured, it has all the auditing events captured, all those things get stored in your database. So that's how when someone logs in from the left, all the connection comes via your DMZ, then it hits to your internal firewall, then it hits to our broker, which is the heart of our entire solution, Horizon Connection Server, and then it picks up a VDI solution or a VDI desktop, and it allocates the same VDI desktop to the end user to start their day. That's how it works from end to end. Let's talk about the consistent architecture across the VMware Powered Cloud. So while I talked about it is highly scalable, and this can be provided, at the same time you have also options available where you can go ahead and use our VMware powered cloud-based solutions as well. This is something again in the right hand side. It's the same. It is the same. It's the same graph, or it is the same solution which we talked about in the past slide. When someone will be logging in, if you have a requirement where you want to do you know high-end security enablement in the VDI VLAN itself, you want to go ahead and making sure you are not enabling all the ports within the same VLAN of a VDI VLAN. So take an example. We have a VDI VLAN which is 10.10.10.x. And now I have VDI1 and VDI2. At the same time, you want to make sure VDI1 should not talk to VDI2 while they both are in the same VLAN. At that time, we go ahead and enable NSX microsegmentation, or we enable one of our solution called NSX along with our VDI to take care of all those requirements. Similarly, we have in the back end when you deploy VDI, along with VDI, we also provide the vSphere, vCenter, and the vSAN license. With the help of vSAN license, you would not have to spend separately for your storage. You would not require to deploy or a three-tier architecture. You can go ahead and deploy a server. Along with that, we will provide you the storage with the help of vSAN, and then we can go ahead and also deliver the solution for the VDI. Along with that, we have Carbon Block, which we talked about during the Anywhere Workspace. If you want to go ahead and enable the security or you want to go ahead and enable you want to go ahead and enable the security on the endpoint, at that time we can go ahead and deploy a Carbon Block as well. So you have multiple other components. So the moment someone is logging in, if you want to enable multi-factor authentication, that can be enabled with your multi-factor authentication, which you could be using. Either it is SafeNet, or it is RSA, or any other radius solution, or we have solution like VMware Verify, which can be enabled to take care of the VMware multi-factor authentication. Once that is done, then the user can be landed into the load balancer. Again, the load balancer, which I talked about in the past slide, is AVI load balancer from VMware, which can enable to make sure the traffic is getting distributed eventually or equally to both of the backend component, which is our unified access gateway, or in the internal cluster, or the internal, in the internal site, it can be eventually the traffic can be loaded into both of our connection server. So now let's talk about the device and collaboration tool integration. When we think of VDI, when you think of migrating your user from a physical desktop to a VDI or any of your existing VDI solution to VMware Horizon, immediately all this question comes to your mind. How are we going to make sure the printing, how the printing is going to happen? How are we going to make sure users would be able to work on Teams properly? How will we make sure Zoom is working properly? So many questions comes in. So this is something, to give you all the confidence saying when we provide the VMware Horizon as a solution, it helps you to enable the smart card. It will also allow you to do client-side redirection. You can go ahead and enable file type association. You can do Windows media redirection. You can go ahead and enable USB redirection. Classic example of USB redirection. Take an example. You have a high-end user. You have one of your VIP user, and he would have a USB device, which can be a scanner, which can be a specific printer. It could be a specialized device, which has to be connected to the laptop or to a thin client, and that device has to redirect it with inside the VDI. That can be enabled. And then you have biometric scanner, any KYC which you want to do, any other environment where you feel within the VDI I need to integrate the biometric, that can be enabled as well. Help desk can be integrated out of the box with our solution. URL content redirection can be enabled. Local printing can be enabled. Take an example. You have while we have created printing, you feel there is a local printer and this printer only I want to make sure I'm taking all those printing. Then the local printer also can be redirected seamlessly inside our VDI, and the printouts will come by default from your local printer itself. Scanning and imaging device, it helps or it supports out of the box. If you have any scanning requirement or imaging devices, that can be also enabled. 3D apps, desktop with the help of NVIDIA Grid, which I talked about in the past slide. Any use cases, any user persona where you feel my users are basically using a heavy graphic intensive application, or they are using some application where I really don't want to spend 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs, or 4 lakhs in every machines or every workstation every year or every 2 year or 3 year. In those cases, you can seamlessly go ahead and migrate them to graphic intensive VDI. One of the classic example I'll tell you, recently I have deployed it for one of my customer. Earlier, the challenge was while user were using heavy desktop or heavy laptop for graphic intensive application, and my customer was paying somewhere around 2.5 lakh to 3 lakh for per workstation. Unfortunately, all those users were not utilizing all the hardware resource which is available to them in those physical desktop. So while there was new requirement coming in, my customer was not having any such option to remove some of the resource from the existing machine and to allocate it to someone, because it is a physical machine and it is allocated to one of the resource, one of the user. So in this case, the moment you think of VDI, that's where it helps you. When you enable NVIDIA, when you enable graphics, with the help of VDI, it is absolutely flexible for you. You can go ahead and allocate 2 GB of vGPU memory, if 4 GB, 8 GB, all this kind of memory allocation, or the kind of vGPU you can allocate. It is all flexible based on the user requirement. You can allocate those resources and you can remove it whenever you feel it is not required. Similarly, application layering is enabled, load balancing is enabled, real-time audio video we talked about, user environment manager, which I talked about, saying how are we going to make sure when someone is logging in, how are we going to make sure when user A logs into VDI1 and again he logs up and log in back to VDI2, all those customization, all those settings which I have done within my profile needs to follow me back to the VDI2. That's all we do with the help of DM, user environment manager. Then you have HTML5, you have APK enabled, you have app shortcut which can be enabled, session lingering or pre-launches also can be enabled. And by default, like the way I told, Teams, Zoom, WebEx, for all those we have optimization pack which can be enabled out of the box when you deploy the VDI solution. Let's talk about the monitoring solution. While we deploy the VDI, there are areas where you want to make sure you are providing all the right visibility to your management, to your users, to your team or to the IT team. So how are we going to make sure when someone is saying we logged into the VDI, it seems VDI is working properly, but your end user complains saying no, we feel they feel the VDI is not working properly. performing properly, or the things are slow, we are unable to access our application properly. So if any such conflict happen, that's where monitoring solution helps you. And we have this control up which can be enabled to making sure not only your session metrics can be monitored, you also have the performance metrics. You can go ahead and pull information like CPU, memory, disk, protocol, your login time, a login logout time, your breakdown of a login time, what is the session state, what is the duration till which the user was working, what kind of desktop they have used, what kind of apps they have used. All those information can be pulled out directly from the control up. So basically, it is a monitoring tool which will help you to monitor your entire horizon end user metrics. Similarly, we have CMS, which is a real-time monitoring which can be enabled directly from our control pane, to making sure if we have all the user who's logging in, that all the common desktop, the server issue, that can be real-time monitoring can be enabled, and all those metrics can be passed on to our control pane. So basically, it is not only real-time monitoring, it is also, it will help you for the user experience and resource usage. At the same time, it will give you in-depth information about all those. If Ahmed have logged in, how much time I have spent, which all machines I have logged into, what was the time I was ideal for, what was the time I was working, the machine I was working on, what was the utilization on those machines. All those data will be available to you with the help of CMS from our control pane. And also we have historical utilization information available, which you can pull based on your requirement or based on your audit. And then you have MP4H. It is a full feature monitoring solution from VMware SDDC stack, which can be enabled. We will deploy this and it will help you with alerts, notification. You can go ahead and configure the triggers. You can enable the capacity and performance monitoring for your backend cluster, for your host, for your data store. All this can be enabled. Above and all this, if I'll have to talk about, the moment we think about VDI deployment or a VDI solution, control of would be helping you a lot in doing a in-depth monitoring. It will give you a numerous reports, I would say. You have many script which can be enabled. If you have an administrator who doesn't know how to go back and do a troubleshooting, control of helps you with right amount of right set of script already available within the tool. You can just go ahead and enable those scripting and post that, it will give you all those reports. If you want to narrow down a RCA with the help of control up, it is going to be much more easy to go back and narrow down into RCA. So then let's quickly talk about the universal broker, which we already talked about it in the past slide, but I would just do a quick double click before we wrap up the session. So there are many things which we talked about as a part of control, as a part of our horizon control pen. Universal broker is one of them. So while I talked about you have multiple site, different location, how can we make sure you can only do one assignment, and that assignment can be used for multiple pod. And the moment user would get an interface, it is going to be a single interface for all their resources. So that's where universal broker will help you. It helps you with the simplified management by making your app and desktop available for all your different pods or different cloud environment. It also make your end user experience better by providing just a single URL. It is optimized performance by eliminating all the hairpinning effect which we talked about in your on-prem data center. And also it helps you by saving more cost by not enabling the GSLB. So with all this feature in place, you can go ahead and enable VMware Horizon today. Or if you're feeling of any such requirement you have when you're thinking of, I want to go get rid of the physical desktop, I'm thinking of VDI, I'm thinking of migrating my end users to a better environment so that I will have a complete visibility. I will have a complete control. And at the same time, when I want to enable work from home, when I want to enable I want to enable a hybrid environment, I want to enable people to work from anywhere, how can I make sure my data, my environment is fully secured? That's where VMware Anywhere Workspace will help you. And specifically for virtual desktop and apps, that's where VMware Horizon will help you. With all that in place, thanks again for all the time, and thanks again for listening to this 45-minute lengthy session. Thanks again, and for any question, please feel free to ask me. We'd be more than happy to answer that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ahmed Khan, for that insightful and amazing presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, with that, it's a wrap. I hope you have found today's webinar on leveraging VDI as a digital business enabler informative and useful. I would request you all to please take a few moments and fill in the feedback form. Your feedback is invaluable to us. Please do mention any suggestions or recommendations that you have for us, as these will help us enhance the content, structure, and delivery of our conferences. Thank you all once again for joining us today. On